Adult children of helicopter parents, how do you deal with them now? It was a nice sense of relief to get out of the house. To put it into perspective, here's some of the stuff that was common in my house: 8:30 bedtime up until senior year. Senior year, no shooting games allowed. I could only ever play Minecraft with my friends. Could not close doors other than bathroom. Could not lock bathroom doors. Could not spend your own money without parents' approval first. Could not play on computer unless they were home. Obviously this rule got broken a lot. No social media at all. The one that got me the most though was until junior year. We could only have sleepovers at our house and could not go to most birthday parties. Getting out of the house for college was an absolute godsend. I love being independent and stupid with my money and being able to play whatever games I want when I want. So yeah, that's kinda what it's like. Well, my mother flew a Eurocopter AS-350 and did paid tours of New York City, New York. My father flew a Bell A-1 Iroquois during a deployment to Afghanistan. My father is a retired veteran running his own bait and tackle shop, and my mom still does occasional tours from their house in upstate New York. They are both lovely and I adore them dearly. Thanks for asking. Well, not the answer I was expecting, but you answered my question. Unfortunately, the helicopter behavior continued after I got married and had children. Eventually, the only way to gain control was to go no contact. I ignore them. To be honest, it's also because I'm in a different city and have a hectic job. But there was also a period of slowly getting them used to the fact that they would not know and control every detail of my adult life. IDK, if I'm quite an adult. BC, I'm 19 and still in college, and does that really count? But yeah, I just ignore them. They say, do this, I say, okay, and then do whatever I want. They gotta drive 13 hours to get to me. They ain't paying for a plane flight. What are they gonna do, call me? I can just not answer it. They said, share your location with us, and I said, no, and it was amazing. They said, give me your password so we can check your grades, and I was like, ahaha, nope, can't, it's location based, whoops, sorry, it's not. They say don't go out, and I just tell them I'm not going to frat parties. Meanwhile, I'm going like 3 hours away for 2 nights for a weekend trip with a whole frat. I tell them I wake up at 9 every day and go to sleep at 11:30, that I eat 3 eggs a day. I have 4 friends that they trust that I always say I'm hanging out with. I have a separate Insta account that they can follow so they don't see what I'm doing. I pay for my own subscriptions so they can't see what I have. I have my own credit card so they can't police what I buy. I don't tell them when it's time to register for classes so they can't tell me what to sign up for. Made that mistake last semester. I don't tell them what finals I have when so they can't police my studying every hour. I've got 4 cream sodas in my fridge right now. My mom would flip if she found out I drink soda. LMAO, so basically ignore them and hide things, I guess. Probably not the best habits, but you know what, I'm enjoying being able to step outside for a moment without being asked, where are you going, or being able to talk to someone I sit next to without being asked about their family and their grades. Went for a walk on campus at 6 yesterday. On my own. No one yelled at me for it. I am low contact. A lot of us go low or no contact. Can confirm. In my mid-30s and finally went no contact after trying for many very painful years to work it out. My parents weren't. But a friend moved to a different state and got engaged, and my friend's mom still managed to be a helicopter parent. Visiting at least 3 times a month and contacting either her or her so constantly. It ruined the engagement because the so finally had enough, because even though my friend was annoyed with her mom as well, she couldn't cut her mom off completely. IDK all the details, but it must have been super annoying if someone was like, I love you, but *CK having in-laws like this. She is now single and has moved back home. It's unfortunate. My brother and I had no free time allowed growing up, just music and homework allowed. Age 30 plus, my dad has passed away now. He was never the problem, but my mom still does her best to control our lives, inserting herself into situations she doesn't belong, and passive-aggressively putting us in situations that she wants to happen. But cutting her off or telling her she's overstepping makes us the bad ones, so minimal contact and details are all that's on the menu for her from me now. Person shrugging male sign. My brother doesn't get it though, giving her minute details and then getting annoyed when she thinks she can have a say in how he lives his life. Just under 3 years ago, I called my mom and admitted to her that I was a heroin addict and ready to get sober. It shook her to her core, thinking she had failed, but to her credit, she came to the realization on her own, through therapy, basically without me telling her point blank, that no amount of micromanaging would ultimately ensure the outcome she wanted for me. I have been sober for 2 years and 10 months, and my mother and I now enjoy a very fulfilling relationship. She still has her opinions on what I should not be doing, but she knows now that ultimately I make the final decisions in my life. Had she not come to the conclusion on her own, I would have been prepared to draw firm boundaries and adhere to them at all costs. Glad it didn't come down to that. My parents weren't really helicopter parents until I was in high school, and then it was insane. I was in high school about 10 years ago now, but cell phones were the norm, access to social media was pretty regular, etc. My parents responded to one of my not-so-great moments as a 17-year-old by taking away my phone, only letting me use my computer in the same room as them with the screen facing them at all times, would pick me up and drop me off from school, wouldn't let me visit my friends and would only let approved friends come to my house, installed cameras throughout the house so that when they weren't there they could make sure I wasn't going anywhere, etc. We're actually good now. I think once I went to college and then subsequently dropped out and took a couple years off, they realized the hyper-attentiveness wasn't what I needed and only made me pull away more. Additionally, it probably helped that they saw me go through relatively difficult situations entirely on my own. There's a mutual respect now, ease of communication, and just general comfort I never knew growing up. All that being said, I would never recommend parents of high school children act like mine did. If you want your children to trust you and be honest, you need to show them that you are willing to trust them. Also, my parents were letting me run around alone through the city for most of my youth, and so the sudden dictatorial behavior was super startling and made me rebel more. I'm 7 months pregnant and my mom had effectively bubble-wrapped me as a child and stunted my social skills quite harshly growing up. My mom keeps trying to insert herself into my doctor's appointments and barge into my house when my nursery furniture arrived, though she paid for it. My husband and I simply avoid telling her things and firmly try to explain to her that she can't throw a tantrum when she doesn't get her way, and if she keeps at it she will be ejected from our life. I think not letting her pay for things might be a good first step. I'm not making as much as I'd like, and no matter how much I'd insist, she wouldn't take no for an answer. I'm not ungrateful for the help, but she has no sense of boundaries and I don't think she knows how to have a functional relationship with anything, pets included. Her dogs love my husband more than her to the point they are visibly depressed when we drop them off at her place after watching them for a weekend. Exactly why I stopped accepting any kind of help from my parents many years ago. It was just another way for them to control me. I just say no when I'm told to do something or follow a rule. I don't give a reason, even when I'm asked why. It's satisfying. I started standing up for myself and telling them off, but I also struggle with being autosufficient, especially with ADHD, so it's a vicious cycle. Especially when I can't afford to move out. Standing up for things they don't agree on is pretty useless. Not only did I get yelled at for requiring my permission before my mom logs into my university student email account to help me manage my stuff, she doesn't even do it when she grudgingly agreed. I remember her announcing me at dinner she had gone in my account and enrolled me in a class without asking me first while I was away at school. As an adult, this makes me very uncomfortable. The way that I got my mom to chill out on me was to tell her that I wanted to go to a college out of state. That was the moment she realized she wasn't going to be protective of me forever, and it took her a long time to accept it. As of now, she's been a little easier on me, though she still sometimes treats me like a child. If I'm out of state, then I just limit contact with her and don't call home often. I think a lack of contact is the best everyone with helicopter parents can do initially, because it's just so refreshing to be by yourself with nobody breathing on your neck after so long. Still pretty bad. I'm 26, married and a mom of 4. She treats me like a toddler when she visits. Thinks I'm incapable of basic things, like making breakfast or taking care of my kids. She'll hover over me while I'm changing my kids, criticizing how well I'm doing. She tries to go through my clothes and pick out outfits for me to wear. Will literally buy me clothes that look like baby clothes. It's weird. Have to set some hard boundaries with her. My parents weren't that bad, but they were quite overprotective. After I turned 21, I still wasn't allowed out after dark and all that jazz. Had to let them know where I was going and who I was seeing in case I was murdered. What I did was move to another continent. I talk to them every couple of weeks over WhatsApp voice chat. They try and tell me what to do sometimes and I'm just like, okay, and don't do it. My dad was never a helicopter parent, he was actually the complete opposite. My mom was a super helicopter parent. When I was a sophomore in high school, I got grounded from everything. I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. I had to go to school and come home. I couldn't watch TV unless it was about God. I didn't have a phone or computer and couldn't listen to music. For months. It got worse and worse as time went on. She would give me a curfew randomly one day and it would be different the next day. I would get in trouble for not following a curfew I had no idea existed. She gaslighted me so much that I often felt like I deserved what was happening to me. After going to therapy, I am better able to identify her abusive and bipolar tendencies. I'm working on minimizing contact with her. I grew up understanding their overprotective ways weren't good for my development when I get over. Boy, I did not know or could comprehend how much they held me back in life until I got older and out of the house. I don't fault them though. I grew up in the South in a very Christian household in a small town. My family was only doing what they thought was best for me. I see a lot of people on Reddit call their parents toxic and hate them, but I don't have those feelings toward mine. I feel like my family had good intentions, but the way they went about it wasn't correct. I can't blame my family for that because they was only acting how they knew to, especially in a world where they don't understand. Edit. Thank you all who took the time to read my post. I didn't expect any likes at all. Not me but my wife. My Mill is a huge helicopter parent. She calls my wife several times a day about the most minor things. It's my wife's fault for picking up, but she has been conditioned by years of guilting. It sucks, has impacted our marriage, caused a number of arguments, and has caused me to have a serious dislike of my mother-in-law. Edit. And we have a kid now, so things are much worse than there were before. She's now a helicopter grandparent that acts like she is entitled to see my child. She throws little pity party tantrums if she goes more than a few days without seeing my daughter. She tries to tell us how to do absolutely everything and always has some to throw into our choices. I'm a stay-at-home dad and my wife is a teacher, so we don't need her help or advice. One nice nugget of advice was that we didn't need to tell my daughter she was black. I'm black, my wife is white. My only sanity saver was that she lived 30 to 40 minutes away, she just moved closer, and that we got into a huge fight where I and my mother told her what we thought of her. There was a lot of yelling and crying that night. I stopped making any kind of effort to have a nice relationship with her and she is uncomfortable being around my mother.